we go, another week. Hope everyone's doing all right, and hope that you're getting through this, and appreciate everyone's attention. It's almost over. What is the date? This would be for Monday, so that is the 4th. So, yeah. So really, I just plan to give this week of videos, and then we're going to prepare for a final test, and I'm done, all right? I'm not going to go into statistics. They cover that in other class, and so we're if we can get through this chapter, beginning of this week, and then a little bit in the next week, we're good for Algebra 1, all right? Because I teach Algebra 2 and Geometry, and I know you're good, all right? So let's look at page 308. Page 308, we're going to look at quadratic equations, page 308. Quadratic equations, and so again, do pay attention. I know these videos are getting boring. I know that it's a bummer. I know that it's nothing you want to do, but again, we'll get through it. And so if you'll just give me your attention here, I'm trying to trim them down, make them a little bit shorter. I try to throw in sound effects to make it more enjoyable. Even put on a mask, which apparently Brooke didn't like. But let's look at this. Quadratic equations, all right? 9.1, first paragraph. It says quadratic equations are second-degree polynomial equations. Recall that in a second-degree polynomial, the highest power on a variable is 2. So we know that a quadratic equation, it always has, like, for instance, x squared plus 3x plus 2. All right? That's a quadratic equation, and you know it's quadratic because the highest exponent is going to be 2. All right, we talked about that and why that is. All right, so that's a quadratic. We'll keep reading. The standard form of a quadratic expression is what? That right there, where you have a, b, and c are going to be real numbers. So, like in case it's 1, 3, and 2. All right. Keep reading. Next paragraph. In chapter 7, the zero factor property was used to solve polynomial equations. This chapter applies the property specifically to quadratic equations after writing the equations in standard form factor to polynomial. Now, what is zero property? Again, if you look at the same example that we have here on the board, I know that this would be x plus 2 times x plus 1. And then we taught how you can solve the equation, not just by factoring it down, but we can actually solve it by taking each of these. X plus 2 equals 0. That's your zero property. X plus 1 equals 0. So x equals negative 2 and x equals negative 1. So you can use both of these and they would actually solve the equation, right? Of this equals 0. All right? So now all they're going to do is introduce that you can, again, expand this a little bit. But this lesson is pretty easy. So just look at a couple of illustrations they give you. We'll zoom through these and get you going as quick as possible today, all right? Because I know that you have so much important things to do. I have no idea what that is, but I'm sure you do. So the first one says, solve the equation example at the bottom of page 308. Solve the equation by factoring 2x squared plus x equals 15. So 2x squared plus x equals 15. So again, we need to get it into a quadratic equation. So remember, you can move things over. So the way to do that is we're going to make this 15 over here. So now that brings me 2x squared plus x, and to get it over there, we have to subtract 15. Minus 15 equals 0. All right? Now we have to factor this down. And so we know when we factor it down that we're going to have 2x times x. My signs have to be a positive, negative. And I'm just glancing for time's sake down here to look what we need to do, right? So 2x minus plus. And we know 3 times 5 is 15. So we do 3 times 5. A negative 5 times a positive 3 is negative 15. My outer and inner, that would give me 6x and a negative 5x, which gives me a positive 1x. And so, I'm going to erase this. I have 2x minus 5, x plus 3. Now you just take it the next step to solve this quadratic. Remember, we've been taking all these steps to get somewhere. We're getting closer. All right, so we have 2x minus 5 equals 0. X plus 3 equals 0. So 2x equals 5, because I added 5, divided by 2, divided by 2. X equals 5 over 2. Is that still on the screen? Yes. All right, so x plus 3, I'm going to subtract 3, and so x equals negative 3. So my two answers are 5 over 2 and negative 3. And if you go back up here, negative 3 squared would give you 9. 2 times 9 is 18. 18 plus a negative 3 would give you 15. 15 equals 15. All right, so it works out. So they all work out, and so you're able to solve the actual quadratic equation by factoring it down as far as you can and then using that zero property. All right, the next example they give you on the next page, if you want to look at that, these are actually, they're not too bad. All right, these, I think you'll be fine. I don't plan to spend a lot of time. I just want to get through the examples. The next one says x squared plus 5x. X squared plus 5x equals a negative 4. So the first thing I have to do is have to get it in quadratic equation form. So I need 3 things equals 0. 3 things equals 0. Quad. All right, so I bring it over here. I have x squared plus 5x. I'm going to add 4 plus 4 equals 0. Then I'm going to break this down, factor it down into 2 things. I have x times x, positive, and 4 times 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 1x plus 4x is 5x. Then my answers are going to be x equals negative 4, x equals negative 1. All right, that's plus 4. X, I skipped that. I assume you know how to do that. X plus 4 equals 0, so x equals negative 4. And the same thing over there. All right, so those are my 2 answers. You can go back and check them if you want to. Let's take the negative 1. That's easier. All right, what's negative 1 times negative 1? 1. All right, plus 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. 1 plus negative 5 is... All right, so works out fine. All right, the next one says x squared equals 3x. All right, x squared equals 3x. Now you got to pull back everything we've been learning. That's why we had a test over chapter 8, because all this is important. So we're going to bring this 3x over here. X squared minus 3x equals 0. Now you say, I don't have, we still have quadratic because you have the squared there. Besides, I don't have 4 terms. What can I do? Well, just do what you can. Let's factor out the x, which leaves me with x minus 3 equals 0. Then comes that zero property thing again. I have x equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0. So my 2 answers are 0 and 3. 3 squared is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 and 9. All right? 0 squared is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. So those are my 2 answers. Okay? Now, one more example. X squared equals 9. So x squared equals 9. I'm going to bring that 9 over. The key is you always want to say equals 0 to be able to factor down and solve it. So x squared minus 9 equals 0. Now you can't factor anything out. You say, what can I do? This is a perfect square binomial, which means I can break it down into this. X and x. I'm going to use the conjugates. Plus, minus, 3, and 3. That leaves me no middle term. X times x is x squared. My outer would be negative 3 and positive 3, which cancels each other out, and then negative 9. So my answer, watch closely on this, my answer is going to be x equals, this is negative 3, that's going to be positive 3, so I'm going to write it positive, negative 3. Now you can write it out both positive 3 and negative 3, but you're going to have to do it this way here in the next lesson, so you might as well get used to it. All right, so positive, negative 3. All right, we're only 10 minutes in, we're ready to do the work. Try it. All right, look at page 310. Let's do a few of these, and I'll turn you loose. All right, on section 9.1, practice 9.1, the top of page 310, we have number 1. Let's do a few of these. Number 1 says 3x squared equals 5x. So 3x squared equals 5x. I need to say equals 0, so I'm going to subtract 5x. So 3x squared minus 5x equals 0. Factor out that x, which leaves me with 3x minus 5 equals 0. Now my 0 property factoring. X equals 0 and 3x minus 5 equals 0. So I would add 5, 3x equals 5, divided by 3, and so x equals 0 and x equals 5 over 3. Right? I mean, we can just jump through and pick whichever ones you want here. I'll just look at one. Number 9. Number 9 says x squared equals 16x minus 64. I need everything to say equals 0, so I'm going to bring the 16x over here, so I have x squared minus 16x. All right, because I subtracted that. And I'm going to go ahead and move this over. I think we can handle this. Plus 64 equals 0. I just did the opposite to move it over. Now I break this down. Okay, x and x. A negative times a negative is a positive, but added together is a negative. What times what is 64? Added together is 16. 8 and 8. So in this case, x is going to equal a positive 8 in both times. All right. Let's do number 12. Number 12 says 24x squared plus 45 equals 118x. So I want to take this 118x over, so I'm going to subtract it, but I want to put it in the right order, so I can do that. So it leaves me a 24x squared minus 118x plus 45 equals 0. All right? Then I'm going to have to break this down. I can't factor anything out, so I'm going to have to break this one down into two terms here. So this is one of those ones. That's why I did this one. You're welcome. All right, because it takes a lot of trial and error, not arrow. I don't know what arrow is, but your options. I know the x is going to be there. I know my signs have to be minus minus. For 24, I have 1 times 24, 3 times 8, 4 times 6, 12 times 2. For 45, I have 1 times 45, 3 times 15, and 5 times 9. All right? So those are all my options. Now I have to see what combination works to get this. So I'm just going to throw the 12 and 2 out there because I want to hurry and get done. All right, and then I'm going to peek. You can't do that. 5 times 9. All right, and in this case now, I know negative 5 times negative 9 is positive 45. 12 times 2 is 24. That's okay, but I don't know what's right yet until I check it. I may have to switch something. Do I? All right, so I know the first and the last is okay. It's my outer and inner. My outer would give me negative 108. 9 times 12 is 108. 5 times 2 is negative 10. And 108 and negative 10 gives me 118. So that's right. All right? You're welcome. I could have done that a long way, right? But I know we have lives. So now I need to use the 0 factor to solve it. So I have 12x minus 5 equals 0. 2x minus 9 equals 0. I'm going to move the 5 over. I have 12x equals 5. X equals 5 over 12. Over here, I'm going to end up with 2x equals 9. X equals 9 over 2. All right, so 5/12 and 9 over 2. So I think, if you want to jump down to like number 24, all right, x squared equals 16. All right, x squared equals 16. I'm going to move that over. X squared minus 16 equals 0. Perfect binomial square. X and x plus minus 4 times 4. So x is going to equal a positive negative 4. I hate chalk. All right, so positive negative 4 on that one. All right, so I think you should be able to do those. The only one that maybe might throw you off a little bit, on number 16, look at number 16, all right? 4x squared equals negative parentheses. So go ahead and change that, get rid of the parentheses. So it's going to read next, 4x squared equals negative 9x minus 2. Now take everything over, then solve it. On number 14, let's do 14. That might be a good idea. All right, let's do 14. So I hope you're paying attention. If not, you just struggle. But number 14, x squared minus 1 equals 3x plus 3. Again, I just want everything over on this side to make it quadratic. So I'm going to bring over the 3x by subtracting. So I have x squared minus 3x minus 1 equals now 3. The 3 is all by itself. So now I'm going to subtract 3. X squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. Now I can solve this. I'm going to have x plus minus 4 times 1. 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. My outer will be negative 4. Inner positive 1 gives me negative 3. So my answer to this one is going to be x equals negative 1 and a positive 4. Right? So I want you to do numbers 1 through 24. We've already done like 6, 5, 6, I don't know. But do numbers 1 through 24 of this lesson and turn it in next week. Right? So 9.1, your homework is the very top practice section 1 through 24. Have a great day. 16 minutes, not too bad.